Today we're discussing a country that silently developed its nuclear program for decades, deceiving both friends and enemies. This nation faced sanctions due to its atomic program, and its allies withdrew cooperation because of a lack of transparency in its nuclear activities. Yet, no one could stop it. This country never even allowed the International Atomic Energy Agency access to its facilities. But despite that, no questions are raised about its nuclear program. This country holds the undeclared status of the 8th nuclear power. And now, it not only openly declares that it won't allow any other country in the region to become a nuclear power, but it's also the only country in the world that has attacked the nuclear facilities of not one, not two, but 3 states, just out of fear that they might develop atomic weapons. Today we'll talk about Israel, the policeman of the Middle East, whose atomic program remains a secret. In this video, I'll tell you when and how Israel started its atomic program, which countries secretly and openly helped it, how Israel deceived America and the United Nations, and what Israel's nuclear arsenal means for the world and the region. If you're interested in the recent Israel-Iran conflict, Middle Eastern politics, nuclear weapons, and the double standards of global powers, then this video is for you. Despite the fact that Iran continuously states its nuclear program is purely peaceful and that it's not building nuclear weapons, and despite the fact that according to the International Atomic Energy Agency and even U.S. intelligence, there's no evidence that Iran is trying to build an atomic bomb. First Israel and then America have attacked Iran's nuclear program, calling it a threat. For many years, we've consistently heard that Iran cannot be allowed to build nuclear weapons under any circumstances. And this stance is not just from America, Israel, and their allies, but even all of Iran's friends, allies, and neighboring countries agree that Tehran should not build nuclear weapons. During this dispute, neither Iran's friends nor its enemies have ever questioned or objected to the fact that Israel, which raises the most uproar about Iran's atomic program, is running a nuclear program under what authority, and why is it allowed to possess, build, and increase its nuclear weapons? Even if we assume the concerns about Iran's nuclear program are correct, what about this nuclear global standard that has turned a blind eye to Israel's nuclear program? After the establishment of Israel in 1948 and the immediate war with Arab nations, Israeli leadership became convinced that this besieged nation needed a secret atomic program to preserve its existence. Israel's first Prime Minister, David Ben-Gurion, declared building atomic weapons a national necessity. This was a time when the memory of the Holocaust at the hands of Nazi Germany was fresh in the minds of Jews worldwide. According to records, Ben-Gurion was obsessed with acquiring atomic weapons because he felt that the atomic bomb could save Jews from another tragedy like the Holocaust. In 1952, Israel established the Atomic Energy Commission, whose first head, Dr. Ernst David Bergman, proudly announced that Israel's atomic bomb would ensure that we, meaning the Jews, will never again be slaughtered like sheep. After years of fieldwork and research, Israel began building a secret nuclear plant near the town of Dimona in its southern Negev desert in 1958. This very plant later became the center for Israel's production of atomic weapons. Initially, Israel received secret assistance from France in establishing this nuclear plant. According to declassified records, cooperation in the nuclear field between French and Israeli scientists began as early as 1949, and Israeli scientists were given full access to data related to French nuclear experiments. In 1956, the Suez Canal crisis proved to be a turning point for Israel's atomic program. This crisis began with Egypt nationalizing the Suez Canal, which was previously operated by an independent company. Despite being within Egyptian borders, and most of its shares were held by British and French private investors. After Egypt's move, Britain and France retaliated by attacking it with Israel's help. As a condition for cooperation in this war, France offered Israel a large atomic reactor, which Israel gladly accepted. But the deception was that France told the world it was providing Israel with a small reactor to desalinate seawater and generate electricity. However, Paris actually supplied Israel with a reactor 2 to 3 times larger than the declared one, which could produce plutonium for making atomic bombs. The very next year, after Israel received this reactor, Charles de Gaulle became president of France and he suspected Israel's intentions. De Gaulle demanded that Israel allow international inspectors access to its nuclear facilities and threatened to stop supplying uranium to Israel if it refused. Although after lengthy negotiations, France eventually agreed to continue its assistance for Israel's atomic program, and this assistance continued until 1966. France stopped supplying uranium to Israel in 1963. After the supply of fuel for the atomic reactor stopped, Israel continued to acquire uranium from a French mining company operating in Argentina and Africa during this period. During this time, Britain and Norway also assisted Israel's atomic program through various means. Decades later, in 2005, the BBC claimed, based on highly classified government documents from that era, that in its early years, Britain also supplied essential fuel and other prohibited materials to Israel for the Dimona plant, knowing that Israel could use all that material to build an atomic bomb. The Dimona nuclear plant was fully functional by 1962, and Israeli efforts to acquire uranium through illegal channels for this plant were troubling the Americans. During this period, President John F. Kennedy had come to power in America, and he had serious reservations about Israel's atomic program. President Kennedy and Israel's then Prime Minister David Ben-Gurion, and later his successor Levi Eshkol, engaged in a diplomatic confrontation over this issue for several months. Kennedy demanded that Israel allow American inspectors full access to all parts and operations of the Dimona atomic plant at least twice a year to ensure it wasn't building atomic weapons. President Kennedy even threatened Ben-Gurion in a message, stating that if accurate information about Dimona was not provided to America, American commitment to Israel and its support would be severely affected. This diplomatic confrontation between Israel and America was ongoing at a diplomatic level, and the public and media had little knowledge of it. Decades later, declassified government documents and interviews with officials from that era revealed that this diplomatic confrontation between America and Israel became so intense that some Israeli officials feared that President Kennedy might order U.S. Army paratroopers to operate in Dimona. Under intense U.S. pressure, Israel finally conceded and allowed American inspectors regular inspections of the Dimona atomic plant. But then, it so happened that President John F. Kennedy, who was restricting Israel's atomic program, was assassinated in 1963. American inspectors continued to visit Dimona until 1969, but after Kennedy's assassination, these visits were not as strict as Kennedy wanted. Secondly, Israel also displayed its traditional cunning and deception here. To deceive American inspectors, Israel not only built a fake control room in the center of Dimona, but also repeatedly shut down various parts of the facility during American inspector visits, citing safety reasons. From 1964 to 1969, American inspectors regularly came to Dimona, but they never even caught a glimpse of Israel's real atomic program. Some experts believe that Israel had already built its first atomic bomb by 1966, just a few years after the Dimona atomic plant became operational. During the Arab-Israeli War of 1967, Israel even had 2 atomic bombs ready on trucks. The Israelis believed that if Arab forces launched a major attack and Israel couldn't defend itself, these bombs could be used on the battlefield. However, in this war, Israel alone thwarted the joint attacks of Arab countries in just 6 days, and thus there was no need to use these bombs. After this war, Israel's atomic program intensified, and it rapidly began building atomic bombs. By 1969, the U.S. government was convinced that Israel had acquired nuclear capability. Therefore, that same year, a secret agreement was reached between then U.S. President Richard Nixon and Israeli Prime Minister Golda Meir that if Israel kept its atomic bombs secret and conducted no nuclear tests, America would also ignore its atomic program and not pressure it to sign the NPT, Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. The NPT agreement came into force in 1970. Aiming to prevent the spread of nuclear weapons and ensure the use of nuclear energy only for peaceful purposes. Under this agreement, only 5 global powers are recognized as nuclear powers: America, Britain, France, Russia, and China. These 5 countries are also permanent members of the United Nations Security Council. All these countries had conducted their atomic bomb tests before 1967, which is the deadline for being recognized as a nuclear power under the NPT agreement. Israel is one of the 5 countries in the world that has not yet signed the NPT. The other 4 countries that haven't signed are Pakistan, India, North Korea, and South Sudan. Among these, Pakistan, India, and North Korea have all conducted nuclear tests and are now unrecognized nuclear powers. The reason these countries haven't signed the NPT is that they would then have to dismantle their nuclear weapons, which these 4 countries are unwilling to do. Now, the interesting thing is that Iran has signed the NPT, but Israel and its allies accuse Iran of trying to build an atomic bomb, despite being a signatory to this agreement. The Iranian government has always rejected this accusation. In the past, several Arab countries have objected to the exemption given to Israel, which is a non-signatory to the NPT. And some states have even said that if Israel is given a free hand, they themselves will withdraw from the NPT. However, after the recent wave of establishing relations with Israel, no Arab country now objects to Israel's nuclear capability. Everything was going well for Israel's atomic program. With America's blessing, the rest of the world had also turned a blind eye to the Israeli atomic program until suddenly, an incident in 1986 shook the world. On October 5, 1986, the British newspaper Sunday Times published a detailed report on Israel's atomic program. This report was based on details and photographs provided by Mordecai Vanunu, a former technician at Dimona, who exposed Israel's atomic program. Vanunu's revelations made it clear that Israel not only possesses atomic weapons, but has also built hydrogen bombs, which are even more destructive than atomic bombs. Vanunu's stance was that he opposes weapons of mass destruction, and therefore, he doesn't consider Israel's atomic program right. After this revelation, how could Israel forgive Vanunu? The responsibility of teaching him a lesson was handed over to the Israeli intelligence agency, Mossad. Vanunu was secretly brought to Israel from Italy, where he was tried on charges of espionage and treason, and sentenced to 18 years in prison, 11 of which he spent in solitary confinement. Human rights organizations declared Vanunu a prisoner of conscience and honored him with several awards for exposing Israel's atomic program. According to the latest report from the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, SIPRI, an international body that keeps records of nuclear weapons, Israel ranks 8th among the 9 nuclear-powered states in terms of the number of nuclear weapons. According to SIPRI, Israel possesses an estimated 90 nuclear weapons. Below it in the list is only North Korea, which is estimated to have 50 nuclear warheads. Above it in the list are Pakistan and India, which have 170 and 180 nuclear weapons, respectively. But these are all estimates because none of these countries disclose the exact number of their nuclear stockpiles. Many experts believe that Israel has enough fissile material to produce an additional 200 to 300 nuclear weapons. Former U.S. President Jimmy Carter, who played an active role in global peace, said in a 2014 interview that Israel might possess 300 or even more nuclear weapons. SIPRI also states that Israel has recently upgraded the Dimona nuclear center, after which activities there have accelerated. But Israel's real strength is not the number of its nuclear weapons, but its ability to attack. Israel has the capability to launch nuclear attacks in 3 ways: through missiles fired from ground launchers, through fighter jets, and through submarines. If you compare this with Pakistan, Pakistan only has the capability to launch nuclear attacks through land-fired missiles or fighter jets. Pakistan does not have nuclear attack-capable submarines. In contrast, Israel possesses half a dozen German-built Dolphin-class submarines, which are capable of firing cruise missiles with nuclear warheads. This naval capability puts Israel in the ranks of global powers with second strike capability. Second strike capability means the ability to retaliate in a situation where another nuclear power launches such a large nuclear attack on your country that your own ability to retaliate from your own territory is eliminated. Now, since Israel, like Pakistan, is a country situated lengthwise and does not have much strategic depth, this second strike capability makes it an extremely strong defensive force. In addition, some reports also indicate that Israel possesses suitcase bombs, neutron bombs, electromagnetic pulse-generating weapons, and other small strategic weapons. But despite having so many nuclear weapons, a common perception is that Israel has never conducted a nuclear test. At least that's Israel's stance. Some experts believe that Israel has conducted several atomic tests in its southern desert facilities over the past 50 years. In 1979, an American satellite that detects nuclear explosions recorded a double flash, meaning two successive flashes of light at the point where the Atlantic and Indian Oceans meet. At that time, some scientists suggested that these flashes were the result of Israel's nuclear tests, which it probably conducted in cooperation with the then white supremacist government of South Africa. Israel, as usual, denied any connection to that incident. When some government documents from the era of then U.S. President Jimmy Carter were declassified in 2010, it was revealed that the then U.S. government was also almost certain that these explosions were the result of Israel's atomic tests. And now, let's understand Israel's nuclear doctrine, meaning the policy of when, why, and under what circumstances Israel can use its nuclear weapons. Israel's nuclear doctrine has three main points. Strategic ambiguity. Israel will never confirm or deny the existence of nuclear weapons. This intentionally adopted ambiguity keeps Israel's enemies cautious, and at the same time, Israel remains free from international pressure. Deterrence via Samson Option. The State of Israel believes it is under threat from all sides. In Israeli doctrine, the Samson Option means that if Israel's existence is threatened, it will launch a full-force nuclear attack on its enemy, no matter how much damage this attack causes to Israel itself. Begin doctrine. It is Israel's established policy that it will not allow any enemy country in the region to acquire nuclear weapons, and if necessary, it will not hesitate to use military action for this purpose. Israel has openly acted on this policy 3 times so far. In 1981, the Israeli Air Force bombed and destroyed Iraq's Osirak atomic reactor, which Israel suspected the Iraqi government was working on nuclear weapons. Similarly, in 2007, Israel targeted a suspected nuclear facility in Syria in an airstrike. Later, the International Atomic Energy Agency stated that evidence indicated the targeted facility was an undeclared nuclear reactor that the Syrian government was developing with North Korean assistance. Israel's recent attack on Iran is also based on this begin doctrine, as Israel's stance is that Iran was close to building nuclear weapons. Besides these openly aggressive actions, Israel has also carried out cyber attacks on Iran's nuclear program, while Israeli intelligence agencies have also been accused of assassination attempts on nuclear scientists in Iran, Iraq, and other countries in the region. So the question is, if Israel itself has nuclear weapons, does it have any moral or legal justification for attacking countries like Iran? But the reality is that in global politics, morality or laws have no standing. What matters is power, strength, and relationships. If Iran had nuclear weapons today, perhaps Israel and even America would not be flying unchecked in its airspace or trampling on Iranian soil.